All right.
We're good to go?
Good to go.
All right. Next applicant is, where's the project name?
710 North Main.
North Main Street.
710 North Main.
Yep, this is a redevelopment of the existing building there. It is currently situated between the Wendy's and I believe it's Taco Bell. It's a little house. The new owner is in the process of renovating it and is going to do a full facade on the existing building there. Staff comments from TRC. We discussed the issue with the one-way entrance, and we directed the applicant to reach out to the Wendy's to see if he could get a vehicular exit out through the back. If Wendy's was not willing to grant access, the driveway to the front could be widened just in one small section to provide a pull-off so two cars can pass. The monument sign was too big. A tree removal permit would be required if he was able to secure that connection to the Wendy's to remove the landscaping there. And then the landscaping is required along the rear sides of the property as feasible. Canopy tree every 40 feet and a continuous row of evergreen shrubs with an expected height of 3 foot at maturity, which looks like he's got mostly on those plans. So a lot of it is going to be strictly discussing the building, the proposed renovations to the exterior facade. So the applicant is on here, and we could, if he's ready, he can address anything from the comments.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Tom Vu here, owner of 710 North Main Street. Apologize, but I'm on my phone because my computer ran out of battery. Didn't know the meeting was going to take this long. I revised the drawings for the proposal initially when I set out forth to do extra parking and things of that nature. There's going to be no additional parking. I did put a concrete or stamp pad as for a patio in the front of the building to make it more, I guess, welcoming. I haven't asked Wendy's to do a variance on going into the back yet, so I'm still working on that. I did put plant schedule in the back along the Wendy's driveway, or say drive-through. And also I made the connection for the sidewalk to mitigate the sidewalk walkway for customers to come from the sidewalk to the entrance of the from the building. My proposal today is to make the building a little more updated. That includes having a deck in the front and a sort of parapet wall. You would say to make the building look a little more taller. I took this design resembling sort of still a small town feel with a look-alike of the Cracker Barrel, sort of say. I still wanted to keep it homey, but still make it have a little modern touch to it. As you can see, the gray color, the grays are going to be on the side as accents, but the white cream color would be in the front back to leave some light and to make it not so dark. Similar colors are going to be represented across the board, kind of like Taco Bell has. Very similar in a way. So I'm adjoining my neighbors, with that aspect. But other than that, I'm not changing anything structurally. It's just more about the curb appeal and the look for this building. So if anybody had any comments or concerns, I'd like to address them.
Mr. Vu, this is very similar to what we said to an earlier applicant is, you're asking for final approval, and it appears to me that you're more at a conceptual stage. So this would be kind of unusual, I think, to get a final. And this is an existing building, correct?
Yes, sir. It's an existing building. The only improvement I would be doing would be providing a deck in the front and the overhang or say roof line that you see on top of there. Of course, in the back, which I've gotten approved already, would be the handicap accessibility for handicap patients or clients that I was having in the parking in the back.
And Jesse, would you mind going to Google Earth and let's look at some elevations of the existing building? Mr. Vu, the overhang that you put on that with the kind of the cars drive under, that's new, correct?
No, that's incorrect. The carport, it's existing.
Okay.
But it has a roof across it like the house
Yes,
with a gable end.
yes, that's correct. You're absolutely right.
So that's what's there now. So you're adding a parapet to the front and a porch as well.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
How do cars drive through if there's a stair right there?
Actually got that removed. In my plumbing, my demo plan, that actually is approved to be removed. So the new access will be from the front and then in the back. So I made a new you say front or back entrance to the building. So if you wanted,
Okay.
And what type of business will be here?
yes, ma'am. This would be a you consider a beauty salon, or it'd be a nail salon, lash salon, beauty.
This looks like a portable bar sitting on the porch. I was just curious.
Oh, no, it's just more of I guess a waiting area, or you say just an area where customers can sit down while they're waiting, or if they're waiting on a client or a technician. But it's just more patio seating, just make it more of a welcoming. So like if they're sitting at home, so say.
Does anyone have any initial comments?
I'm not crazy over it, but I mean, I don't like that parapet and I don't like it going all the way across. I think it looks out of place.
Yeah, I don't understand the parapet either, to be honest with
Isn't that existing house brick?
Yes.
It is brick, yeah. And
Yeah,
if
I
you
mean,
wanted to
it's all
paint
brick.
brick and make it look like a little cottage or something without all that other stuff, I mean, that would be cute, but I just think that this is,
I think
Yeah,
you're wasting money with parapet.
I totally understand your view. I was more, like I said, adjoining my neighbors, Taco Bell and Wendy's, who have a commercial field look to their building. I'm not necessarily, trying to change, the small cottage feel. That's why I was trying to incorporate, the patio in the front, and still make it a small town feel, a home
Well,
still.
if you add the parapet, it's no longer got the feel of a small cottage.
Right. Well, I guess an aspect. This is a business that I'm trying to I guess opposed to like a house trying to convert into a business. I wanted to
Right.
in a way like I compare myself with our my adjoining neighbors.
Sure. And so are you proposing on painting the brick the different colors, or is that stucco?
Yes, sir. The colors that you see there are probably really, really similar to the colors I'm painting. If you look at Taco Bell, that one picture that slide you just showed, their left side of the wall where the drive-through is a whitish cream color. That's the color I'm gonna paint the front and the back with, and then that gray will be the accent for the left and right side.
Okay.
Yep.
I understand, and I'd love to hear from a couple of the architects or Bill, but I understand where you're coming from, and I think the design intent is good to have a porch. I think the parapet really takes away from the look, and I think it's actually making the building as it sits now is not the best looking building in the world, and quite honestly, it's out of place because I think it was a former residence 50 years ago. So adding the parapet makes it look worse, and the porch element, the massing or scale or detailing is not quite right. And I echo wanting to have a porch. I think that's a great idea, but I don't think it's pulled together successfully.
Okay. I would add in that if I did get granted to put the porch, that actually wall, that metal roof, that's the overhang that's coming up, covering the porch, would actually be raised, probably attached to the parapet wall, to give it more height, to more scale. So if you drove, I guess, past that Cracker Barrel, from 17, you'll notice that their, overhang is attached to their parapet wall. And it raises probably like 20 feet high or so, which gives it
a much larger building.
It is a much larger building, but I was just talking to scale of my building. So if obviously you can see, like, that would be confined if I left it like that. But I would say it would probably be more into the middle of the parapet wall to make it more scalable.
A dentist redid a building over, I can't think of the name of the street, and he put a A-frame on the front of a porch, and it just made it look so cute and great. I mean, it was a building sort of like this with the gable ends, and he put an A on the front and had cross beams in the center of it. It was open with cross beams and had the porch and everything. It looked really cute. And, that might be a thought, is just putting a porch on the front with an A, because you could, you wouldn't have to use this parapet thing. You could still have a porch.
Right. I get where you're coming from. I do see, if I did put the porch, I would have to tie in that roof for that porch to somewhere somehow. If I did come off that soffit, let's just say that it's only an 8-foot soffit or 8-foot height, it would make the slope not correct, causing an issue when let's just for the stairs, at least it just, the slope wouldn't work. So I would have to it's either not putting that roof, which would defeat the purpose of the porch itself, or build some kind of structure or facade, like I'm proposing, and creating that look that I'm trying to.
Mr. Boo, this is Bill.
Yes, sir. Hello, Bill.
I think you need some professionally done drawings and some professional input, because we can't tell anything from, these are like funny papers we're looking at. You really need some professional help.
Well, you know, this.
And you're
this
gonna waste a lot of money on this parapet. And you can put a porch on this quite simply and easily.
Yeah,
You only need a 112 pitch on a porch roof if you use
right,
the right.
and I totally understand where you're coming from, Bill. If I did put professional drawings into there, get an architect to do it, you know, it still
would get a home designer to do it. You don't need an architect. You know, get somebody that knows how to draw instead of, you know, whatever this is.
Well, this is a drawing, not as in technical. You guys were in needing technical plans as you mentioned for, like, say, the church that was being presented. This is a conceptual drawing, and after, you know, this approval, I would you know, get permits to, you know, with actual technical measurements and things of that nature. So,
what you have shown, and I appreciate it. I know that there was a lot of work that went into this.
Yes.
Not down on that at all. But what you have shown is a conceptual level of drawing, and we can't really move forward to a final with conceptual drawings. It's got to have, there's a technical aspect that has to be completed. When I mentioned the church earlier, they're submitting plumbing drawings, electrical drawings, you know, way too much detail. They were submitting a full construction set. But
right.
And what this is submitting is just a concept. And I think, and I'd love to hear from other board members, I think universally we are not in favor of the parapet. I don't think any of us are opposed to a porch, but it's not quite right. And the devil is in the details, and there's, like Bill said, you don't have to be an architect, but you have to have it has to have more detail than what is shown now. So is there anyone else on the board that has any comments for Mr. Vu?
I can jump in. So I really appreciate the drawings. That, I mean, they do show enough to for us to comment on it conceptually. I'm an architect, and I really appreciate your effort to to kind of blend in more with your neighbors. But I would just embrace the fact that this is a house, not my dog. I think putting the parapet on, while it is sensitive to the neighbors, it makes it something that it just isn't, and it looks more applied. And like Bill said, I think it might waste some money. Where with the porch, if you do a porch like a residential porch, that is a lower slope porch that starts about 2 feet up the existing roof. I mean, you might be better off putting some architecture, like changing the shingles instead of the parapet, you know, to basically re-roof it. That's not like an official recommendation, but I'd put your money into embracing the fact that it's got a residential look to it. So I would do a low slope shed roof like you have, but maybe start it up from the fascia, so that, which is very typical for this area. And your porch is going to have beams, and right now you just have a fascia with wood columns. I think they're wood going up.
Mm-hmm.
You'll need a beam across there, and have a structural engineer look at that. And so I can say that I like the idea of the porch. I would definitely conceptually go for the idea of the porch. The drawing is I think one of the things is we're just so used to seeing more technical drawings. Like the windows, The windows in the SketchUp model are identical, and they're very commercial, but the ones in the building that are currently there are very residential. So I don't know if you're intending to take out the windows and replace them, because they're very different scales.
Right. Yes, I understand. I see your point. Definitely, I'm changing the windows. Part of the plan that I submitted for the for redesigning this building. Didn't include any exterior, but I did mention in my plans that I was going to change up the doors and windows to be commercial doors and windows. So that's what you see there. But what I'm trying to, after the fact of getting that initial review, I submitted this review, this picture here, or this drawing. That's why I'm going through this process. But I understand before I, shed out the money for structural engineer like I did for my interior. I wanted, to get your approvals, guys, and then see, from your perspective, I don't like the wall, which I get. But I'm also trying to make it, like I said, more of a commercial feel, but still have a Somerville town touch to it with the front still, and not demolishing the whole building and recreating a whole new concept.
Oh, yeah.
So that was kind of my dilemma. Either I was going to demolish the whole building and develop a whole new building, which I don't think that was, that was definitely an idea, or can I alter it, to fine tune and update it, like I said, to
well, I would echo what Mr. Carper said, is you either embrace that it's a residence because it'll have a commercial feel because you're on Main Street. I mean, so it's either it's a residence or you demo it and build a commercial building that fits in more with Main Street. I think the parapet is very awkward.
I agree with Chris and Chris. What's going to happen with that parapet is you're going to come back later and want to put some signage up there, and it's going to look like Rivers Avenue.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. The fact that I already have a signage that's already in place.
Well, I get where Michael's saying. I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're also going to have some drainage issues sloping into that wall.
Right. Well, I was aware that I was going to actually get gutter systems that's going to tie into the slope and then feed into the back, feed into the side, the east and west side.
I think my recommendation would be that we could look, that we could look at it conceptually, which we are. We can't really look at it as a final submittal, and that I would really recommend. We had an issue a little while ago with an applicant that was trying to make a giant commercial building look like a house, and here we have a house trying to look like a commercial building.
Yeah.
And it's hard, and it's hard to do. Okay. And so your efforts are commendable. I do think that getting somebody to look at it professionally would save you time in the end. But I would definitely take that parapet off, put a different color asphalt shingle on, repaint the building, and look at a good low country porch, and embrace the residential aspect of it. I think otherwise you're kind of working against yourself here, I think.
Yeah.
And I would take, I don't know if I wouldn't take the carport off.
Oh no, the carport stays, ma'am. That's attached to the actual whole building. The
Right.
roof. Yeah, I would not take that off. Like I said, it's just a wall that extends only from it's a 28-foot span, actually a 30-foot span that comes from end to end. And simply would just be a facade, just to make it look more updated. And I understand the whole embracement of the small house. It is only a 1,200 square foot house, but I am on Main Street, which is a very high traffic street, as you know, and stuck between two very high traffically buildings. So
well, if there are no other new comments, I think we are ready for a motion, unless someone else has something they'd like to say.
I would like to just mention that there are two cottages basically across the street from you. I think one of them is the Red Pepper place, and another one is insurance plates, but they're both cottages, and they're commercial. So I would make a motion for conceptual approval, but with comments noted, primarily take off that parapet. There you go. See them both right there.
Tim or Jesse, with the change in UDO, do we, can we, or do we need to vote on conceptual?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, there's still no vote on conceptual.
So do we have to either approve or deny since he submitted for final?
Technically they're supposed to submit for preliminary first. They can request preliminary and final. We don't require conceptual. So, since he did submit not for conceptual, there does need to be a motion made.
Yes.
Okay, so sounds like that there needs to be a motion, and he requested final approval. So would someone like to make a motion either for final approval or against final approval?
I'll make the motion for against final approval.
Okay.
Was that Michael?
And
Yeah.
yep, and Carolyn seconded it. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of how should we say it, Jesse? Denying final approval? So if you want to deny final approval, your vote would be yes. So that's the motion. All right, Tim, would you have any, would you like to do the roll call?
Yes, let's start with Bill Bashane.
Yes, deny.
Chris Campo,
Deny?
Chris Carpus,
Deny.
Carolyn Rogerson,
Denied.
Hart Weatherford, did he get back?
I'm gonna reach Molly.
And then Michael Greger.
Denied.
All right, so that is, I think this is everybody who came back. So that's 5-0 to deny.
Mr. Vu, I think all of us appreciate you bringing this before us. I can speak for the board and say we appreciate your design intent. Okay, and you had solid arguments. It's just the execution of it. And I think from this point forward, staff should be able to guide you a little bit, and we look forward to seeing you again.
All right, sounds good, guys.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right, you too.
Are we done?
No.
We got one more.
more.
Unless you want to just kick it the next time.
Elliot's been waiting since yesterday.
It's 4 o'clock. This is the longest meeting we've ever had.
That's
All
been
right,
2 months.
Elliot, you're up. You got Hagan and Garbon, proposed townhome development on 2.15 acres.
My battery on this pad's going dead, so I don't know. We'll see.
Well, if I could just go ahead and get conceptual preliminary final, I'd be good to go.
Good try, Elliot.
Elliot, you're breaking up on me.
Yeah, I bet. Go, Tim.
So Ed, this is a request for preliminary approval. Based on a review, the impervious surface exceeds the 50% allowed. Wheel stops should be shown on the parking spaces in the northern end. If the sidewalk is flush, the tree protection detail needs to be updated to the new town detail. And the parking screen requires a continuous row of evergreen shrubs in addition to the mature trees. The park space provided needs to include the minimum amenities required. Section 6.4.1E, as far as architecture goes. Minimum porch depth required is 6 feet per section 4.2.10. The plans are showing 5 feet and 4 feet 2 inches. Shutters aren't wide enough, and either enlarge them to appear operable or remove them altogether. And we're missing some elevations. Elliot said that he had those updated last time I spoke to him. Engineering comments requested additional separation between buildings 4 and 3 for the drainage outfall. And they are requesting a concrete ribbon curb around the perimeter of the drive aisle adjacent to the pond. So those are staff comments.
Okay, if we could just, I guess, go to the layout sheet. That's good enough. All right, so there's the bottom of your screen is Gahagan Road. The right-hand side of your screen is Garbon, which is the road, essentially Boundary Street, runs around to the ball fields and parks area. Excuse me, to the left, you'd be headed back toward Berlin G. So addressing comments briefly, we're over on our impervious area. So we would be looking at putting probably 9 or 10 pervious parking spaces in. And where we were looking to do that is on that vertical building, the top portion of the screen, starting at the bottom and taking the pervious up to 1 off of the handicap so that we've got a good handicap surface, hard paved surface there. So right, exactly. Those would be turned into pervious spaces. The ribbon curb on the opposite side on the drive, that's obviously easy enough to do. We would get rid of a foot of asphalt and add the foot of ribbon curb and maintain the drive width and not increase the impervious area. The wheel stops that we show on the far left building are because we are making that portion of the sidewalk and paving flush, but the rest of it is not. You'll have your sidewalk will be a curb, but that far end down there is flush. We do have 2 handicap accessible spaces. The units themselves are not. They're 2-story units. These are townhomes, individually owned. So, you know, we're not sure where that blend falls in, but we've got accessibility. At the far left, kind of a comment that Chris has made a couple of times where the last space doesn't have room to back out. We've got essentially a painted walk access aisle there, 5 feet wide. It's not an ADA access necessarily, but it's just a place where that space can turn out. And instead of stopping the driveway or the surface there, we just create a better path to get up onto the sidewalk instead of everything being between cars. So the other planning comment had to do with amenities. I haven't talked too much with Jason about that, but we were looking at some benches on the high end of the pond in the grass area there, that northern corner. That has a flatter slope up there, so it's a good place to maybe put some benches. The ordinance says something about a bike rack for a park. I don't know that a bike rack is applicable here, but if you need a bike rack, We love bike racks. So architecturally, the dimensions of what's laid out does have the 6-foot porch, but we didn't have the floor plan updated yet to show that. But to get the 6-foot porch, there's nothing that changes dimensionally on the site plan. That's already accounted for. Okay. The engineering comments had to do with the ribbon curb, which we've addressed. And Jesse, if you back up one sheet to the grading plan, you can see what Bonnie or Matt was talking about with the discharge from the pond between the buildings. It's only an 18-inch pipe from invert to ground level. It's 4 feet depth or less. So we've got 10 feet between the buildings now. We can get to 15, which is, I think, all the town would require there. So we can satisfy that comment. The ribbon curb, you've already kind of addressed that. But what would happen site-wise, essentially, is that left-hand building, the 4-unit building number 4, would shift to the left 5 feet, creating the 15-foot drainage easement through there. And you can also see that we have the both frontages with sidewalks. The one on Gehagen, there is a fairly deep, steep bank ditch between the intersection at Garvin and where the pipe crosses. When we get beyond that, it's just a swale. So we would be looking to pipe that portion in the DOT right away, tie our pond discharge to the same box. And then on the Garvin side, there's overhead power that runs right at the right of way. So we're putting the sidewalk off of the power poles a couple of feet, and still have a few feet, probably 5 feet or more, to the edge of existing asphalt, which is a valley, a paved valley. It's not, the edge of the pavement's not really the edge of the travel lane. It picks back up to create a gully for drainage. PRC had the comments that we got from there. One was looking at the fire department comment. So we have a water main extension on Garvin from Gehagen to set a hydrant near the entrance, satisfy the fire department comment. The detention pond is a dry pond. As you can see on the south side, it has a 4-to-1 slope, which is fairly mild. And the other side of the pond has a greater slope. So it's all easily mowable. We're also putting in a trench drain of sorts to make sure the pond dewaters and doesn't end up growing up cattails and whatnot. So that's going to keep it dry and essentially usable as a grass-based play area. Don't really have anything else that I think would need explaining or addressing, except to say that this was the first try at the new UDO. So all the units fronts face the street and are within the 5-foot setback from the right of way. The exception, I think it's actually 5 to 15 feet. You can correct me, Tim. The exception is building number 2, but that is to preserve a grand tree in that corner. And there's one other tree that we were able to leave along that frontage as well. So that's all I want to say about the site. So, yeah, we are submitted in conceptual. Would love for you to entertain a final approval on the site with the comments from staff. We've actually already made those corrections, and everything still fits and whatnot. So I'd like to pursue a final on the site so we can keep moving forward. And whatever you can come up with on the buildings. Jason should still be on the call, and we can move.
Let's get through. Let's just go ahead and tackle the site before we look
Great.
at architecture.
All right, thank you.
Anyone? Tim, did that satisfy staff comments?
Yeah, based on what he was saying, it sounds like he's addressed that. We will have to review the amenities that are added to the park area and just make sure that they are per the UDO requirements. I don't know what they are right off the top of my head. But those do sound appropriate for something this size.
Elliot, are you saying that? Go ahead, Bonnie.
Sorry, Chris.
Nope.
One of our concerns was the width, between those buildings 3 and 4. And I think that since the pipe is not going to be that deep, only 4 feet deep, that we could go down to 15 feet wide for the drainage easements. We don't want to go any lower than that. So I was wondering about like the air conditioning units or landscaping or anything else that might encroach into that area, of the drainage easement.
Everything will be, as far as landscaping, will be in the fronts and the rears of the buildings, nothing on the sides. And the AC units are all in the rears of the units.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Elliot, are you saying that the playground is going to be basically is going to be the dry detention pond?
Yes, we have probably there's a lot of landscaping that's on the landscape plan that kind of fills in the area off of the shoulder of the drive lane. But yes, basically it's in the pond area. On the ends, the kind of those outside corners of the pond, what we're looking at there is to put a couple of benches at each of those corners, the kind of southwest or left corner and the upper corner. And we're pretty deliberate in having some very mild slopes down into the pond on that rear side as well as the right-hand side of it.
Is that drainage structure something that cannot be climbed into?
Correct.
Okay. Any other site comments from anybody? Okay. Let's move on briefly to architecture. Big picture, what are you thinking?
My turn, Elliot?
Yes.
Or you got them?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you've got the town. Okay. These are, again, as Elliot expressed before, these are all fee simple townhomes. So they're individually owned, not a condominium. We've built these in a couple different places in Dorchester County as well as in the town. But this gives you a general rendering of the front elevations. The requirements for the little bit extended front porch, a little bit less than 2 feet. It's very simplistic, doesn't really change the front appearance of the homes that much. We did make the change to have the shutters removed. They to have operable shutters that look that look the size to cover the windows. There's just not spacing requirements or enough spacing there to make that happen. So, this community and what our company caters to is basically, we try to build affordable homes for folks, for teachers, firemen, policemen, big portions of the military, big portions of our buyers, all the exterior requirements as far as maintenance of the homes, grass cutting, power washing of the home, pine straw replacement, basic landscaping. That's all done by the homeowners association. We kind of have, again, a couple communities around Somerville that are 8, 9, 10 years old. They look fantastic. They really look better and better every year. The landscaping kind of grows into it. And this is something that, as Elliot said, we've had to kind of change to meet some of the requirements as far as the placement of the home on the lots. But that's basically what we're going for, what we're looking at.
All right. What is the siding material?
Siding material for these typically is what we do. And again, because we try to keep it an affordable range and a low maintenance type thing, is a vinyl siding. So we use an upgrade.
Tim, is that allowed by ordinance?
Yeah, there's.
I think it just says it has to be 50 years, has a lifespan of 50 years or more.
Yeah, we did make allowances for certain types of vinyl to be allowed. I just have to find it here.
I think it basically says other materials as approved by staff or the board.
Yeah.
The way we've done it with a couple other communities is they do need to submit the specs for the vinyl to show that it does perform similar to the higher grade cementitious siding in terms of maintenance and quality and that sort of thing.
And the roofing material is what?
Roofing material would be asphalt shingles.
Is it architectural shingles?
Not typically, but we can do architectural shingles if that's a requirement. Again, our goal for this is to, folks that want to purchase a home for below $200,000 and not be 2 hours away from their work, commuting wise, an hour away from their work. We go in and find.
I think we hear you on that. I think we hear you that you're trying to promote attainable housing.
Yeah, and everything, when we start adding things like cement siding, that's where we get into a little bit of a, in this price point, we're afraid that the, 5-6 years down the road when that thing has to be painted, some of these folks haven't saved up the $5,000 or $6,000 to have that done.
And I'm asking the questions because I don't see it on the drawings.
Sure.
I may have just missed it. I'm just asking. I'm not asking you to defend your position. I'm just asking for clarity, just so I can, with all due respect, just so I can
absolutely
convey what's on. Because
I'm sorry. I have a picture, but I don't know if I can do this a color rendering of a community in up in Dorchester County. That I'll try to do the share screen.
While you're looking for that, is there any does the board have any initial comments on architecture?
I do. I like the individual, like the way they are drawn individually, but when you put them all together, when you put 4 of them together, it looks like 4 of them together rather than it doesn't look like they're made to go particularly. I'm trying to find a good way to say this. It looks like 4 pieces put together, which townhomes often do, but it's looking like 4 pieces together. But the other thing that I would say is you got the brackets, which look good, but I think I would get rid of them. This is the cost saving measure. Get rid of the brackets and the little eaves, because that's like architecturally just, I don't think it's doing anything for the building.
Okay. Again, we try to just have them look, and it's telling me I can't share my screen because I guess Jesse's
Oh,
can only do
I'll
one at
stop
a
by.
time.
There you go.
Let me see if it works. No guarantees here. I'm not. Well, there's the building. You know, and obviously the they would have the driveways would be in the rear now, but that kind of gives you
That's the front.
life elevation of the front. Yeah. So that would be what you would see driving down Garbon or Gahagan. With the exception, the porch would be extended out a little more than 2 feet and the shutters would be removed. So I don't know if that helps alleviate some of your questions. It's easier sometimes to look at them in a 3-dimensional aspect
Sure.
than single.
Yep, I appreciate that. And is that vinyl material?
It is.
Okay.
And that house is probably, at the time of the photo was taken, probably about 3 years old, 3 or 4 years old.
Okay. Tim, have they met the architectural requirements that you mentioned?
Yes, with the removal of the fake shutters, I believe all the other details are being met. It's not terribly stringent on the residential side. You know, they have a couple of different materials on the building, as approved by the board. You know, you can choose that. But you know, they're showing like the board and batten up in underneath the gable ends, facing the street. You have the horizontal lap siding. You have some brick material on the piers, underneath the porches, on the columns. So, you know, those design elements are being addressed within this design to meet the UDO requirements for architecture.
All right. Do any of the rest of the board, or including Mr. Carpus, if you had wanted to expand upon your points, does anyone else have any commissions? I mean, oh goodness, it's getting late. Anybody have any comments on, say, massing, scale, details, that sort of thing?
Well, I will say that the photograph looks a lot better than the drawing.
I'll say that too.
Always does.
That's why I put it up
Yep.
there. Yeah, it's much
You
easier.
lead with that next time. Lead with
I
that.
will. I know. I'm lucky. I'm just thankful that it actually got up there. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good job. All right.
I'm not real crazy about the vinyl siding, but if it's the higher grade siding, then it might be okay, because they do come in different grades.
And I'm not wild about. Go ahead, Carolyn.
No, I was just saying that there's a big difference between vinyl siding and vinyl siding sometimes.
Yeah, it's a higher grade. If it's a higher grade siding, and I'm not wild about just standard architectural, just standard shingles. I think it needs to be architectural shingles that last longer, what, 30 or 40 years or whatever they are. I mean, that would be my thought, rather than just the really thin ones.
Well, I'd be more than happy to agree to the architectural, again, for the longevity of the neighborhood, and you know, we want to be proud of the homes when we go by. I would strongly suggest in this price point that we do the vinyl, because if you drive through some of the neighborhoods in the town and in the county that are older, you know, the ones that have Hardy at this price point people don't maintain them the way they're supposed to maintain them. And the vinyl
I hear
siding looks good.
I hear you. Is the board ready to move on to colors?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay, so do you have colors you want to present now, or is that something you want to present at a later time?
Yeah,
I mean,
let me go to what I've got for color. Yeah, that's the email.
Or do they look like, or does it look like the picture?
Well, yeah, it does look like the picture. If you don't mind, I've got a couple more pictures as well. I've just got to get on the right screen. Oh, I've got it. There we go. Okay.
The roof's color would be fairly consistent. You'll see that in some of the other ones that Elliot's going to show you. We use that weathered wood is the name of this color. It's available in either ARC or 3-tab.
Yeah, so this kind of pastel palette. Whoa, boy. Let's just stay right there. You can see what's up there at the top. You've got blues and tans and grays and smoker's teeth, and that was a joke, Chris.
I can't see anything. I mean, I see it's just a black screen for me, Elliot.
Okay, well, it's not working then.
It's probably because you moved one of your screens. You moved one of your screens over to the front. It's probably what you did.
Okay.
But the one photo I showed, that's a general representation.
Was everybody
color
okay
scheme
with
we
that?
would use.
Was that everyone okay with that general color scheme?
Yeah, pastels, that look good.
Okay, are we ready for a motion? If someone's ready for a motion, just go ahead and make it. If not, we can discuss it further.
So he's asking for final, is that right?
Yes.
They applied for preliminary, but if you felt like they had done enough to meet the requirements for final approval, you could potentially do that.
The application on submittal through the online process would not let us click anything except preliminary. So it was not our choice. We were under duress.
You can click the wrong button.
I guess so.
Well, as Jesse pointed out previously on other projects, typically you are supposed to do either conceptual and preliminary and final, or preliminary then final. Really, there should be at least 2 presentations to the board to show that these, the steps have been followed and that you're addressing the comments from either conceptual or preliminary at the time of final. So, I mean, you have done this before where they've applied for preliminary and given final, but at the same time, the minimum is they have to apply for preliminary to start.
In this case, I don't, and I guess maybe we won't know till the vote, but I don't see if there's anything substantial enough that would change from preliminary to final.
I agree.
I don't, okay.
I agree.
All right, so would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve for final approval with the architectural shingles. And what were some of the other things that comments? With whatever other comments were made as well.
Final approval on the type of siding.
Yes.
Heavy duty vinyl.
Heavy duty vinyl as approved that meets staff or UDO requirements.
Yes.
Right. And does that, Carolyn, does your comment include the brackets? Removal of the brackets, or was the picture okay?
I'm not sure about that. Maybe I shouldn't make this. I'm not
Let's just
somebody.
leave the brackets on.
What is the bracket?
Just leave them
Brackets
alone.
were,
Yeah, don't worry about it.
don't worry about it.
Leaving the brackets on.
Yeah.
Okay, Carolyn, I think, so Carolyn's motion is a couple of comments, final approval with a couple of comments, of course, meeting staff concerns. All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, Michael seconded. Tim, you want to call for the vote?
Yeah, Bill Bashang,
Yes.
Chris Campo,
Yes.
Chris Carpus,
Yes.
Carolyn Rogerson,
Yes.
and then Michael Greger.
Yes.
All right, excellent.
Okay.
That's 5-0.
Final.
Thank
All
you
right.
very much, everyone.
Good luck.
And
Thank you.
Thanks-
And again,
thanks,
thank
guys.
you for experimenting and doing this. We appreciate you guys trying
No,
to
thank-
keep the process rolling.
Thank you for
Yeah,
your patience
echo-
too.
Echo Will's comments on staff doing this. It was getting this ready and for everybody on the board. The town appreciates what you do.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
As do I.
Thanks,
And it,
Ellen.
you know, it took some time, but I think the meeting went well, you know, so.
Excellent. Yeah, we
kudos
won't
to
have the
everybody.
other issue with the timeout, I don't think, next. So,
Yeah, thanks, Lenny.
No worries.
no worries.
No worky. All right.
Especially if we keep it
Let's,
under 4 hours.
Carpus, was that a motion for adjournment?
I did say that, yeah.
Yes.
And I thought,
Second.
Carolyn seconded, all in favor?
Bye.
I'm
Okay.
not calling the roll.
Good night,
I'll call
everybody.
it unanimous.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Yeah. All right, bye.
Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.
Have a good night.